You're listening to the Geek Saga podcast. This episode features audio that was recorded at a discussion panel at DragonCon 2025. Please consider backing us at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment for early access to these podcasts and other perks.
And now we will unleash ourselves upon the book that is called Wind and Truth. Welcome to SpacerCon, those of you who get this joke. Those of you who've read a little bit. My name is Billy Todd. I am the moderator for this panel. I am a Sanderson beta reader. This book was the first book that I beta read, which we did before the speculation panel. That was a challenge, and now some of you guys get to make fun of me for what I said last year. As I said, I'm a beta reader for Brandon Sanderson. I'm also the track director for the Sanderson track at JordanCon. Those of you who do not know what JordanCon is, I'll be more than happy to evangelize it after the panel. Since I'm not track staff, I can do that at length, and you will appreciate me having done so. That said, there's really not much there's not too much cool stuff. Really, more of the stuff that you guys want to hear about is each other's opinions and all sorts of stuff like that. And joining me up here is Tara and Seth, and we'll let Tara introduce herself. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tara. I'm a podcaster and an author, and you can find me on the web at a Geek Saga or geeksaga.com. My podcast is the Geek Saga podcast.
My name's Seth Lockhart. I'm the fantasy track director at JordanCon, which you should listen to this guy about the convention. Part-time, do continuity editing for some TV shows and some books.
So, Wind and Truth. Whew, boy. All right. There are 1,346 pages of material to discuss. Some people are shaking their heads. That's a lot of pages. Yeah, it was a lot of pages. We have opinions about that number too. But we are going to, for those of you who did not hear Jimmy's announcement up front, we are more than happy to take questions or comments from the audience. Please just direct them into the microphones here. If you want to line up and express your thoughts or concerns or questions for the panel, feel free to do so. I expect a lot of audience reaction and thoughts in this panel, so do not be bashful about them. There are a lot of you here. There will be a lot of agreement and disagreement, I'm sure. So with that said, there is a lot to talk about here. I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off right from the beginning. Tara, Wind and Truth. This book is the climax of the first half of the Stormlight archive. We've been waiting for it for over a decade. Yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Can I give it like a... It's not a straight thumbs down, but it's not a thumbs up either.
Okay. Seth?
I give it a thumbs up, just because it deserves a thumbs up. We're not here to talk shit about a book.
I didn't say I was going to talk shit, but I do have opinions.
I think a lot of people, I'm just going to be perfectly honest, there are a lot of people that came into this book with some expectations, and some of them felt their expectations were not lived up to. And I want to talk about that for a second, because last year, when we were on the speculation panel, some people tried to get it out of us. There were two of us betas up here. What's this book going to be like? And I said, my expectations going into this book before I cracked anything were Empire Strikes Back, end of Infinity War. I was expecting Empire Strikes Back. Some people were expecting Hero of Ages, other people were expecting Empire Strikes Back. And I think my personal hypothesis is, if you went into this book expecting Empire Strikes Back, you probably give it a thumbs up. And if you went into this book expecting Hero of Ages, you probably are more like Tara and give it a lukewarm or maybe not such a good review. And I'm curious, Tara, which were you expecting when you opened this book?
I'll be honest, I didn't really have any set expectations. My only thing was, as long as Adolin doesn't die, then I won't have to die. So it wasn't so much about expectations as it was the length of some of the content and the way certain things were handled that it made me a lukewarm
feel. So we'll talk about that too. It's really funny that you say that, because I think in the panel last night you said Adolin was your cinnamon bun, right?
Yes, perfect cinnamon roll.
Adelin's your perfect cinnamon roll. And I honestly was not much of an Adolin person until this book. I open this, listen, everybody. Sometimes we stand a himbo and sometimes not. I never disliked Adolin, but I never was just like, man, I love this guy. I can't wait to see this guy's next chapter. I absolutely was that reader in this book. I really loved Adolin in this this book? Is that? I mean, there are a lot of people who say Adolin's thread in this book is the best thread in the book.
Amazing.
He did my baby boy justice.
Did my baby boy justice. At the end, when all that stuff shows up out of nowhere, I'm like, yep, this is Brandon. You got me. You son of a bitch. Right. I'm like, I'm sure something like this is going to happen. This isn't really much of a surprise, but I sure do love it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty great. I'll start here with Seth. Which was the storyline that you liked the best out of this book?
I mean, we talked about Adolin, and I think everyone appreciated that one, so I'm going to shelf that one since we just talked about it. I really enjoyed, I would say, the Chasms fights.
Sigzil?
With you say his, and it's a loaded thing because we saw Sunlit Man, so we knew it's not going to be great. So that one was the one that I was enjoying, just trying to figure out how we're going to get from A to Z in this book.
Yep. Tara, which was your favorite besides Adolin?
See, I feel differently about the Sigzil stuff, mostly because I feel like, even though we knew he was going to have kind of a dark ending, I'm still kind of like, wait, how? I don't feel he was in a no-win situation, and what happened with him doesn't really feel like it should have led to how he is in Stormlight Man. That's my opinion. I thought they spent too much time in the spiritual realm, but I really liked Navani's her control over that. It's like I think they spent too much time in it, but I really liked what Brendan did with her when they were in the spiritual realm.
Interesting. I'm about to make enemies of many people. I thought Navani's stuff in Rhythm of War took too long. Took too many pages. A lot of people in here are like, man, that's the stuff I love the most. And I love Navani. It's just the scientific stuff, the sciencey stuff in Rhythm of War. I thought I could have used like a chapter less of it, maybe 2 chapters less. But yeah, if she had been playing chess with Raboniel, I would have been fine with it, honestly. If they'd been playing towers, I wouldn't have cared. But I was like, oh, God, more science, whatever. Okay, fine. And I know there are people who just really love this, so I get it. But Navani, anytime Navani's on camera, Brandon has my attention. I really love Navani as a character, and when she's on her game, I love reading those chapters and watching her have to navigate this stuff. I did think that was neat. I agree with that too. So we talked about the one we liked the most. Which one did not work for you so well as a plot line? We'll go Tara and then go back.
I mean, outside of the Sigzil thing and me kind of still being like, how did he get to Sunlit Man from this? Again, there was too much time in the spiritual realm. That's probably the big thing that I like. As much as I love like what Navani got to do with it, it was too much. It was every time I got to those chapters, I was like, oh, when am I getting to the next thing, please?
Seth, how did you feel about that? So first I'll ask you, how did you feel about spiritual realm as a device, and then I'll ask you to answer the question I first asked.
Billy, you know my opinion. I think anything touching the spiritual realm was garbage. And it's from not just the book perspective, but like looking at it at a literary sense of now that he has done this with the spiritual realm, it's his get out of jail free card for anything. Like, oh, we need time travel, spiritual realm. He's gone on record now with all this stuff. So
as long as it's in one direction. Like, you can't do reverse time travel
yet. What pissed me off the most about the spiritual realm is when I like to call him T-Dog, but
T-Dog
pulled the whole city of Carbrinth and put it in the spiritual realm. I know why Sanderson did it, but I just did not like that. But everything's spiritual realm. I don't like to dig on Shallan because I actually find her as a decent character, and she's gotten better through the books. But like even her touching the spiritual realm, I did not like that. If we could have done away with a lot of the rule of cool for that, I would have been happier.
I read the spiritual realm in the beta, and one of the rules for us as beta readers is we can't talk about text that didn't get published for obvious reasons. But we are allowed to talk about our feedback in generalities. And
he's a lawyer, so
Really?
Yeah. Skybreaker at that. The feedback that I gave on the spiritual realm stuff was that I felt like the promise that was made to us in the beginning by Hoyd is you don't want to go there because it's too weird to comprehend. Like, I was sitting there in like part 7, I was like, honestly, Brandon, it's not really that hard for me to comprehend being in a DVD, like watching DVDs in a theater. That's not very hard for me to do. right? Like, this is literally a holodeck. And this is not very hard for me to comprehend. And, like, I know that this is sort of like the mental construct that they're applying to it and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that smacks of cognitive realm to me. And so I'm not really convinced that this works. And of course, by this time, Brandon's already written like 1,376 pages of this 1,346 page book. And so, like, obviously Brandon was not going to change this significantly based on the beta feedback, but because this is his vision for the spiritual realm. But from the first time I was reading this, I was like, man, I really like the fact that they're going to the spiritual realm. I'm amped. Let's go. This is going to be a crazy trip. And then it just kind of fizzled out in a way. The mystique and the mystery of it sort of fizzled out. And in that sense, I was like, okay, but at least we're going to get these really cool revelations, right? Like, we're watching DVDs, but this is going to be this is going to be some crazy stuff. And then that didn't really happen either.
No.
Like, I kind of felt like a lot of the stuff that we got in the spiritual realm was stuff that we either already knew or stuff that we could have guessed, like, without much difficulty. Like, if I took a poll of people in this room, the plurality answer probably would have been what we got. And so I thought it was like, I agree with both of these critiques, that I thought that we spent a lot of page count in that section compared to what we got out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think if those sections had been shorter, I probably would have felt a lot better about them. But I also know that there are readers, and there are probably people in the crowd right now who are like, man, I loved every page of the spiritual. What are you talking about?
Can we get a vote?
I actually am curious. If you feel like voting on this, did the spiritual realm work for you? Like, were you like ready to turn another page and get more spiritual realm? Raise those hands up.
Wow, that's more than I was expecting.
Okay, and if you're like, man, I don't know, I don't need another DVD in the DVD player, put those hands up. Okay, so that's about a 60-40 split, probably. Yeah, 60-40, half and half. I don't think this is one of those places where there are certain choices Brandon can make in the book where I'm like, Brandon, why did you do this? Like, you cannot do this. Don't do it. I don't think this is one of those choices where he's objectively wrong for doing it. Do you guys? So it's one thing to say it wasn't for me. It's something else to say he should not have done this in this book. Do you guys? How do you feel about that, Tara?
Something that he should not have done at all.
Like, it was a mistake. No, I'm saying, like, do you think that this was such a mistake to you that it's like he just objectively should not have done this?
I would not say that. I just, like you said, I think we did not get, for the amount of time I had to spend reading it, it was like 2% worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was way too many pages, way too many words for what happened at the end. Like you said, I think it could have been, I think a lot of it was like hand fed to us, and like, Brandon, your readers aren't stupid. We can figure this out with with way less.
Right. Get me to the contest. I don't need this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Let's take a comment here, and then I'll come over.
I think this is relevant to what we were just talking about. Do you think the narrative construct of the 10-day countdown was really what was limiting in terms of how the spiritual realm, if he just had to spend 5, 6, 7 days in the spiritual realm, and so he had to add content in it because there was days of the week that were happening?
My brother in Tanavast, I have a lot to say about this.
Me and Billy talked about this for about 2 hours yesterday.
Is there a recording of that conversation?
Hopefully, thankfully.
No, because I'm about to give it.
You have to visit the spiritual realm for the 2 hours.
You're going to get the abridged version here.
Me in perpendicularity.
The abridged version here is this. I was pretty vocal about this in my feedback, and it did not matter. And I knew it wouldn't matter, but I wanted to go on record with it. That I thought that the 10-day clock, I thought that the bargain that was made in Rhythm of War severely damaged this book. And I said to I said in my feedback to Brandon, I said there are problems that I'm seeing in this book as a reader that are structural, where you're choosing to do this and you're choosing to make these plot lines converge at the end of day 10. And because there's a 10-day clock, we know exactly when they're going to converge, and there's no suspense, and these durations feel arbitrary. And because you're Brandon Sanderson, I actually wrote this. I said, because you are Brandon Sanderson, there must be a Sanderson lynch, and therefore these plot lines will converge at the same time. Therefore, I know that during day 7 there will be no resolution on these questions. And so all these things expand. But the reason why you did this is because you wrote this in Rhythm of War. Therefore, you're trapped. You promised to the clear that this is going to happen. And so what do we get as a result? As a result, Zeth's quest, which is basically I have to collect all 8 pieces of the Triforce. I have to collect all 8 pieces of the Triforce. I know that 8th piece of the Triforce is not going to be found until day 10. So no matter what happens during these other days, the emotional climax is not going to come until day 10. And same thing for anybody in the spiritual realm. Now, sometimes they may be there longer than you expected. But I feel like the 10-day clock, my personal opinion on this is the 10-day clock felt extremely heavily oppressive over the structure of the book, and by extension, even the pacing of some of the paragraphs, right, all the way down to the paragraph level. It felt that way to me sometimes. Tara, how'd you feel about it?
I didn't really, when I read Rhythm of War, I didn't really think too much about the 10-day thing, but then when I opened up Wind and Truth and saw that it was like literally day 1, day 2, I was like, okay, well maybe. But then like 2 days in, I was like, yeah, no, it's gonna go exactly like I expected, and
I did not, when I closed the book on Rhythm of War, I did not think the last page of Wind and Truth is going to be on day 10. I did not think that was a promise that had to be kept.
Yeah.
I did think the Contest of Champions would be on day 10, but I didn't expect that necessarily had to be like page 1,330 had to be on day 10.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that was a promise, but I think Brandon felt that was a promise he'd made to us, and therefore he had to deliver on it. Seth, how do you feel?
I feel the book would have been stronger if he had separated some of the storylines to have a mini Sanderson in the middle. Renarin breaking the gem could have been moved up.
Absolutely.
We could have seen ramifications and lore represented off that, which would have actually, I think, built the stakes for day 10. You know, day 10 is like, you know, we know Honor and Odium are going to have it out, but because Brandon was being clever with what Zeth was doing and the gem, we didn't really get to see ramifications of that. And so somehow we have Renarin breaking the gem, Kaladin swearing oaths, all happening within like, you know, a very short time.
Like within 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah. It's like the win is like, hey, he did the thing, you need to do the thing.
Yeah.
And so forth. So
yeah.
I think it would have been stronger if we had moved some of it around a little bit. So day 4, day 5 would have been important because I think we talked about the Shallan.
Shallan could have concluded day 5, right?
Yeah, Shallan could have been done way early. And they could have still gotten caught in the spiritual realm, but Renarin's smart. He could have figured out how to get the job done and get out. But I feel like, you know, people were kind of just stretched, and that hurt the book.
I agree with that. I don't think it broke the book, but I think it did stretch the book. I agree. Let's go to this question here.
So we were talking back there actually a bit about the spiritual realm, and they told me to come up and say this. They thought it was interesting. We kind of all agreed that one of the issues the spiritual realm had is the Revelations didn't bring up new mysteries.
Right.
Yeah.
They were closed books.
Yep.
It was info, and that kind of ended it instead of bringing up new. There's always another secret, except with these secrets. These are just kind of.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I think that part of that was because they were meant to pay off they were meant to like build this like emotional pressure for breaking the gem, and for me it just didn't work. It felt like I didn't really care that they broke the gem. Like yeah, you guys should do this. It's not something where I'm like, oh my god, are they going to do it? Like, of course they're going to do it.
Well, half the visions didn't even have anything to do with the gem. Though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we're expected to watch Dalinar find out the secret that he needs while Shallan's looking for the secret they need, and he tried to merge the two, but it seemed artificial.
And I will say, this is, of all the books that I've read of Brandon's, I thought this Sander Lynch was the most artificially constructed. Yeah. When compared to Oathbringer, which I think is probably the single best Sander Lynch there is. Let's go here.
Yeah, going back to the Zeth quest, how did you feel about that mostly being structured as like a mental health lecture?
I'll go last on this one. Seth, you want to go?
So my problem with the mental health thing is about 72 hours before this, Kaladin tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And I know Billy, we talked about that. Like, me and Billy have talked extensively about this book. But it's another, I'm going to use the word artificial again, where, you know, it's putting Kaladin there where, like, he jumped off the roof, and if it wasn't for God, he was going to die. To then have Zeth start his journey seemed really weird to me. I'm okay with where they went and how they got, like, the journey was okay for the destination that they reached. I do like Zeth a lot, so it was fun kind of like watching him and the Kaladin playing therapist with someone who doesn't want to have therapist.
and him not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
Tara?
I think that Shinovar was too much about Kaladin, and that Zeth should have had more autonomy. And I also
That's the wrong shard, though.
Capital A.
yeah, the therapy thing. It's what frustrates me about it is just like you said, like the quick turnaround. Like this is not. And yes, I know it's fantasy, but you go from being at the lowest depths to now you're a therapist and you're trying to fix someone and you're not very good at it because of that. And also just the use of the word therapy just felt very like forced and weird to me in this world.
I don't know of anyone that's had a breakthrough after 10 days.
Point of order, it's happened. I've been there. I'm sorry. Me too.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but
I have a lot of thoughts on this. I have to be careful when I talk about stuff like this because, as I said on the panel last night, from a mental health standpoint, I'm mayonnaise, right? Like I have like no spice at all. My point here is I thought that this section worked to a degree. I think it worked for when Brandon is doing this, Brandon's trying to send a message. And I don't think his message is that Kaladin is a good therapist. I think his message is that you should try. And the you he's talking to here isn't Kaladin, it's Zeth. Brandon's message here is if you are Zeth, you should try. And if somebody offers you help, you're not less for having accepted the help or for seeking out that help. And is this the best way he could have structured that message? Many people could disagree on that. But I think it is incredibly important to Brandon that he shows the fact that journey is being taken at all, because the most important step is the next step. Right? Yeah. And you can't have a next step without a first one. And for Zeth to acknowledge that this at least is a journey that he needs to undertake regardless of his faith in the destination is the most important piece. I think if I were to corner Brandon in the lair and say, I need you to confirm for me whether you think this is true, I suspect Brandon, maybe because he's terrified, that the psychotic person has broken into his house. Brandon might say at least this is my perspective, that the most important lesson from this book is that the journey of seeking out therapy is the right thing to do. And the fact that Kaladin is our most sympathetic vehicle for that to happen is itself a demonstration of the fact that Kaladin is fighting a completely different kind of fight than what he's used to doing. And the fact that Kaladin's not ready for that fight is inconsequential as to whether or not Zeth needs to go on this journey, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think these are two separate questions. And with that having been said,
question for you on this. Do you think the whole Zeth collecting the Triforce pieces is systemic from an outline of needing to have all the Herald blades together at one point?
I do. So there was also another thing about this too. Somebody said that they think it's too fast. I think if you had stripped away the 10-day structure from this, the 10-day constraint from this book, and you just said this occurs over period 1, period 2, period 3, instead of day 1, day 2, day 3. And it was just like, there's an indeterminate number of days between period 3 and period 4. Zeth and Kaladin are marching from Rivendell to Mordor, and it takes them some egregious amount of time to get to wherever they're going. I think it would have felt a lot more natural. It would have felt like they had room to breathe between these conversations, as opposed to just like, hey, you need to check in for your session today before we go hit this honor blade, right? Which is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah. Yes.
Therapy at 6, playing at 8.
Right. Yeah. Playing involuntary sandbox at 9. Yeah. Let's go here. Yeah.
I got 1.5 points. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I think the point that you made about the message being for Seth, it gets lost in the fact that I think Kaladin also needed the message.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And the idea of him being an imperfect messenger didn't quite land. Like, it seems to me that we didn't get enough of, like, no, Kaladin still needs this, like, himself.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think there were many comments made pre and post publication where, as Seth just said a second ago, it was pointed out to Brandon that it's only been like 96 hours since Kaladin jumped. Right, like Kaladin himself probably should be doing exactly what he's saying Zeth should do,
right.
And this is just completely ignored. And I don't want to bag Brandon too heavily here because it's been like 4 years since he wrote Rhythm of War, and so it doesn't feel like it's been 3 days. And there is also this artistic license to just sort of move on with the story. But I think when you're dealing with something like this, it could have been a little cleaner, or I'll say a little less clean, maybe is a better way to put it. And I thought it was too abrupt. Not like horribly so, just a little.
Yeah, I think we can get back into that 10-day issue.
It's the 10-day issue again.
'Cause if we had like a training arc between book 4 and book 5, it would have we would have gotten a little bit more story, and that would have given.
If we had a therapist novella,
yeah,
flute player, we just call it Wander Sale, the novella, where he does local theater and learns how to tell the story of the Wander Sale.
I think a novella would have been a great idea. Actually.
It would be a great idea. Yeah.
The second point: if the spiritual realm has no defenders, I'm dead. So the reason that I liked it is that it is Dalinar's arc. At some point, he's like being beset by all of his horribleness, and Noah Don's voice comes back out and calls back to the visions, right? It starts, the quote originally in book 1 is like, our calloused feet, our eyes open with a fresh delight. And the explicit note in the point of difficulty of, it's your calloused feet. If it's a spiritual realm, I think that that's what spirituality and religion can have the capacity to do. And that's where I think that part shines.
I agree with everything you just said.
Okay.
And think that it could have been done in a lot fewer pages.
I think that if it's with both the 10-day structure and the spiritual realm, do you guys think that lessening the time that we spend in those places, or the conflicts that we spend in those places, to preserve some of that like spiritual mystery part, would you think that would have helped?
Immensely.
Yeah.
This was an example in my opinion, I think this is a place where more was less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think we could have done without seeing them teleport from Ashen at all. Like, we didn't need it. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I was riveted to those pages, but in retrospect, like, we didn't need them. My life is better for having read them, but I didn't need them. I don't think the book needs them, if that makes sense.
I enjoyed them, though.
Yeah. All right, over here.
So I might be the only person in this room who thinks this, but I actually enjoyed the 10-day time, like. I could be, and that's fine.
So I will say that there was a substantial amount. It's okay for me to say this. There was a substantial amount. Brandon got a lot of support pre-publication for this. So
I mean, personally, just for me, I feel like it was like it did heighten the
tension.
Yeah, the tension, because it's like, oh my god, what can they get done in this 10-day period to like try to help this? Because you know this thing is going to happen, and it's like, okay, well, what can they get done in this 10-day period? But I also feel like it helped, kind of show the character development. And I absolutely love character development in every single story.
Character is first, I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love character development. I love seeing where characters go, where they come from, where they're going to. So I got a lot of that, I feel like, in Wind and Truth, where it helped me understand a lot of these characters, but also it helped understand, some of the history as well. And I feel like that also helped the characters understand why they're doing what they're doing. But I guess basically the question would be, do you feel like the character development that was gained was worth the 10-day time period? I don't know if that makes sense as a question.
I'll rephrase your question, I think.
Yeah.
Is there a place where the 10-day structure contributed to the character's development?
Yes.
I think there's one that jumps off the page, and that's Adeline.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Like, that 10-day structure for him, there is nowhere in the book where that tension is ratcheted harder than Adeline. And what do you guys think about that?
Same. And I also think, I love that we got all the stuff with him and Yanagon.
Yes.
I think he was probably he's definitely my favorite minor character in this book. It was nice that he got more too, because we kind of really haven't seen him at all. We know what little we know of him from Lift, but yeah, I loved their interactions, and I think it helped Yanagon grow, but it helped Adolin grow a lot too.
I will also say this: when we were doing the beta, we didn't have all the interludes, and one of the things. If you knew the specifics of what we didn't have, you would lose your mind. But one of the things, I'm about to share one of them. One of the things that a lot of us said in our feedback was, Brandon, we really need a scene where Lift is pretending to be Navani. And that is the thing that could only have worked in a 10-day period.
I think the characterization, and especially since spending some time with some of the other characters, is one of the book's strongest points. You get some backstory for Renar, and you get into his headspace a little bit. Adolin was great. Of all the 10-day periods, I think his is the one that works the best for that. Sanderson gave us a sneak peek for his next Kickstarter, The Towers.
The Towers game.
Yeah. You guys will see that probably next year.
Towers CCG.
I do think it was very strong.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and you're not wrong for liking the 10-day period.
I might be in the minority, but
I mean, I think you're objectively wrong, but it's fine. And you're only wrong because you disagree with me. If I'm on the other side.
Of course.
All right, here.
I have so many things I want to bring up.
Choose one.
For now. This is like a 20 megaton gorilla in my brain right now. I hated the baby. I hated everything with the baby. The baby was the worst part of the book for me.
I think I've watched that. It was completely out of my brain. So I don't remember who you're talking about. I don't.
Baby, shh. Baby, shh.
It only got worse. I was like, okay, it's chill now. I don't have to think about it because infantile danger was like stressing me out
Right.
the whole time. And then it's like, it's so much worse than I thought it could get.
Yeah.
So I do put Odium's champion in that spiritual realm garbage that I hate. And this is because I don't know Sanderson and the Allstroms well enough to know.
Right.
But sometimes I feel like the change of the champion was people figured it out that Odium was going to pick Gavilar as the champion, and Gavilar's not going to kill a little baby. Well, let's age him up 20 years and make it work. Then he gets that thing. But I think it was garbage.
Yeah.
I still like this book. I think that was garbage.
I also still like this book.
Tara?
Yeah, I mean, I remember us on the speculation panel last year. I don't remember if it was an audience member or what, but somebody brought up Gavin North. When somebody brought up him possibly being the champion, I was like, what? Yeah, but it was almost even less like
that was the hardest part of the whole
it was almost even less like that Dalinar won't kill a baby, and more like how could Brandon possibly make that work? Like I know because I didn't assume that he was going to send a baby against he's not even really a baby. He's like a toddler.
He's 6.
So not even a toddler. Okay, so he's a little bit older.
He's like 5 or 6.
But yeah, so convenience is a plot. Convenience of plot. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like it. It doesn't matter either way. So
I think it opens up a plot for the last 5 books because now you have a colon that could sit on the throne that's not Gaston. I think that's going to play out very heavily in the next book. High Princes are going to support him for the throne.
Last year, Tara on the panel said, "I don't know how Brandon could do that and make it work." And the first thing that vomited in the back of my throat was he didn't. But I managed to choke it back and it was fine. I'm never disrespectful to Brandon, but I was not supportive of him in this in my feedback to him. And I was like, I have problems with this. And the problem I have with this is the fact that it violates the contract that was written, that was stated in Rhythm of War, which says that neither champion can be harmed. And I said, it infuriates me that Dalinar does not immediately accept Odium's concession of the fight. Odium has conceded the fight because he's chosen a champion and harmed him. Therefore, he's conceded, therefore Dalinar wins. And my argument for this is, no parent or substitute for a parent, even the Blackthorn, would say that if you kidnap my kid and put him in and lock him in your torture basement for 20 years, that's not a harm.
Yeah.
Dalinar didn't see it.
Dalinar knows as soon as Taravangian says it. Okay? Dalinar didn't see it happen, but he saw the result. And as soon as Gav comes out and says, I want to fight you, I've always wanted to fight you for 20 years. It's like, dude, you brainwashed the kid. This is garbage, right? This kid's not consent. This is a 6-year-old's consent. What are you doing? And I just think it completely falls apart. And the reason why it falls apart for me is because if it wasn't the sort of thing where we know that this version of honor cares a lot about the way things are worded as opposed to the intent of what honor is supposed to mean, I wouldn't have cared so much. But I felt like this was an issue where an error in what he did in Rhythm of War came back to hurt him here. And I am like one of the very few people on the planet, it turns out, who had this incredibly legalistic view of the fact that Dalinar was like this isn't even a consenting champion. Like this is like what are you doing? And Brandon did not change it as a result of my feedback. This may shock you because, and here I can confirm, there is a theory out there that because people guessed it on Reddit, Brandon changed it. And I can tell you that I have seen on Peter's iPad the words that say that this was the outcome over a decade ago. That Gavinor was always going to be the champion. Always. This was not a thing where somebody got clever and Brandon was like, oh, I gotta change this. This was always the plan, and Peter has authorized me to say that this was always the plan. And now I sit there and I say, really? When I go back and I read the stuff from Words of Radiance or whatever, this is what you were pointing me to? Some of it lines up extremely well, and some of it not so much. And I think that for me, I feel like if there had been another revision, it probably could have worked better. But by the time we were at that point, like the publication schedule for the beta read and the gamma reads was so tight, and Brandon's patience with the text, to be honest, I think we could have had another 6. A lot of people said like, oh, Brandon could have had another 6 months. This book would have been perfect. If Brandon had 6 more months on this book, he would have jumped out a window. That is universally the opinion inside of Dragonsteel, is Brandon was ready to catapult off a roof into the ground below because of like just how he had to be done with this book. I don't think the Gavinor thing works as it's written on the page. I think thematically it does work for Dalinar because it's sort of like the sins of Dalinar's past, like thematically kind of, I guess, comes back to haunt him or something. But I know that at its origin, this comes from a thing where Brandon was playing D&D, and they wanted to do a thing where the players had to kill a baby in order to do a thing, and the players refused to do it. And Brandon was like, "That's crazy. Of course you should do it. Save the world." And he was like, "I'm just going to write this into the book. 15 years from now, I'm going to write this into a book." And that's what we got. This was disclosed to us on a panel that I think it was who's the one that he does the podcast with? Dan? It was Dan. Dan was the one who leaked this out. Dan mentioned this in the podcast, and it was before the book got published. It was before Wind and Truth. And the pages were like, oh my God, Dan said that. And hopefully nobody puts it together. And not enough people put it together, but Dan completely spilled the beans in that podcast. Let me go here. You're raising your hand. Is that because you have a question or because you give me a call?
I was just going to say, because of the suckling child.
Yeah, we know that there's like words from the death rattles.
You figured that was changed because it was supposed to be a suckling child?
No, I think the suckling child was metaphorical.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not literal.
There's been a lot of like criticism, which I rightfully agree with, but I just want to bring in some levity, so I want to share a personal anecdote. I threw a dart making a joke about the end of the book. It's like, this is right after Gavinor got put into the spiritual realm. I was like, all right, how can I make this most movie Michael Bay like explosions Linkin Park ending I can? So I wrote this to my friend who had already finished the book at the time, and I said, Gavinor comes out of the spiritual plane older and jacked as hell. We need to prepare. He's coming back. Who? Odium? Worse. Honor. And serious.
And serious,
right. Lens flare, explosion.
So we actually we had a list of things where we were like of things that like we could say that would sound so ridiculous that like people like if we made a list of things that were true and things that were not true and made people guess which ones are true and not true in the book, and we were doing this, and one of them was like Dalinar makes out with a Parshindi in front of Navani. That was one. There was one in the beta. They had to fix this in the beta because the timeline didn't work out. But one of them was like Shallan talks over the entirety of the Lost Metal because of the way they fixed this in the Gamma. The timeline was not right. They had to move when Hoyd shows up for his thing. But like there was a point there where like when she's talking and he's like, oh yeah, we had some stuff going down here and you know over here on Scadrial, and it's like he's talking about the Lost Metal. Like we're doing the work. We're like, is he is she talking over the lost metal? And Peter's like, yeah, we got to fix that.
I did want to add one more thing and then ask a very quick question. The thing I wanted to add to my friend's response, which was, firstly, I will kill you, fair. And then, having finished the book, he simply said, hellish retribution, which is really funny. Reading the book, getting that far, and be like, oh yeah, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Alright, quick question.
Yep.
What do you think is the strangest thing that happens in the book? Like, just the weirdest thing that happens through the entire
Dalinar makes out with a Partian. And she's cool with it. Like, that's pretty weird.
Yeah. I mean, also Lift pretending to be Damani. It was hilarious, but also like, whoa, wow, okay.
Yeah, the chicken has always stuck out to me as really weird.
For me, it was getting like to day 4, I believe.
Yeah.
Reading through the like Sills thing, I'm like, are Cal and Sillidan becoming a thing? Like,
Oh, God.
I was like,
Next question.
I do not want this to be like,
Go away from the mic.
Well, that was a good panel, guys.
That was a good panel.
Nice. Yeah, I'd love to get your all's opinions on the debate between Yezna and Theon.
Okay, all right. I've taken this one first. That scene occurs, the final verdict in that debate happens after Kaladin tells the story of the Wander Sail. And in my feedback for that chapter, I told Brandon, I said, I just read a scene where an immortal swordsman loses to a dude playing a flute, and I was cool with that. You made that work. But this brings me out. This brings me out. And what brought me out was not the fact that I thought Yasna did anything wrong. It was the fact that Finn's rationale for capitulating the debate made no sense to me.
Yeah. Yasna's main arc is going to be the back half, so that
Right.
It makes sense for her to lose and have that big psychological hit. But it's hard to understand Fenn's psyche and
My complaint with Finn's thing, and I'm more than eager to hear the panel disagree with me on this, is that she's the Doge of Venice. She's like the leader of this trade organization. And like she's not there by divine right? Like she could be assassinated at any time. She has to respect other players in the game. She should be mad if Yasna doesn't have a plan to assassinate her. Right? Right? Like, Yasna, you weren't the person I thought you were. What is wrong with you, Finn? Come on. Right?
Yeah. I think in this case, I understand the destination needed to happen. Yasna needed to lose, but I did not like this journey. I also don't think any part of the debate was well written. It was very pedantic and childish.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It was a very childish thing. So she's my favorite character. I'm an else caller in a sea of truth watchers. But if I had my way and I was a beta reader or an alpha reader and could change things for it, I would have had like Odium kill Finn to show Jackson he means business because he really wants her on his side, and just making her lose an artificial debate isn't really something that's going to get her on his side. Now, him showing her that he will do everything in his power to get what he wants would have scared her into maybe potentially joining his side a little bit more than, if you would have won, I would have just had 4 merchants killed and we would have taken the city that way.
I think the bigger thing for him was more of just like taking her off the game board more so than converting her, which I think this effectively does. We'll see how effective this was. I thought that like Yasna's part in this and the fact that Yasna, I had no problem with the Yasna side. There are a lot of people that have had issues with the way Yasna conducts herself in this debate. I didn't have a problem with it. My whole thing was Finn. Finn, come on. But at the same time, I mean, it's a pretty minor thing. It didn't ruin the book for me, but I did think it was funny to me that this is what brought me out, and not this immortal herald just totally gives it up against the flute, right? which I thought was a surprisingly if you just described that scene to me in a vacuum and be like, you kidding me, right? Really? But I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well, and a lot of people disagree with that, and they're just wrong.
So it does keep coming up ever since book 2 that the Alethi going to betray the world, and so far, every time they say, "Oh, they're going to betray us," everyone's like, "Yeah, they probably are going to betray us." So it's getting to be maybe a little bit of a red herring that the Alethi are going to, they're the only ones that's got sunshine.
Well, the Aziri of sunshine.
Well, yeah. Well, they're Alethi province.
They're a Lethe protectorate at this point. Yeah, we'll get over here.
Pivoting to speculation, which I tried to ask this on
Oh, gosh.
the time panel.
Okay.
Where is Rock? My personal speculation.
Oh, yeah.
Exiled through cultivation perpendicularity is going to show another.
In the
Feel free to engage or
in the interest of time, because we have 7 minutes left, I'll say that this question is probably going to be conclusively answered when we get the Horn Eater novella, which we're supposed to get before Stormlight 6.
He's in on Skygirl, and he's watching Sanderson's cook.
Sanderson's cook.
Let's get
Let's go over here. Make your question quick. Let's roll.
One of the things that I kept seeing in the book that I was really interested in was the talk about the moons.
Yeah, weird moon showed up out of nowhere.
We have the part earlier in the series about the importance of the moon on one of the peoples of Roshar.
Yep.
And it feels like they're setting up something, and I was curious what you think that could be, or if they're the parallel of 4 to the 4 Dawn Shards came up in my thoughts, and I was curious what y'all had to say about it.
No clue.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I got nothing intelligent. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories floating around. Noadon being an aspect of the moon. I think I've seen someone say that Noadon is a avatar of autonomy and is there. I've seen that it's Valor. People are all over the place. I have no idea.
I think we have absolutely insufficient evidence from which to speculate, which I know is like the worst answer, but it's also the most freeing, right? So, go ahead.
Okay, super fast comment and then
roll.
Little question. So, first of all, I think that turning to this, Kaladin jumping out the window was not the same energy as him going to the honor chasm. He was not in the same desperate state. Like, I don't think that was driven by suicidal thoughts. I think that was driven by wanting to save his dad, which was in accordance with his vows as a windrunner. So I think that like the whole like it doesn't make sense for him to go from there to being a therapist doesn't actually track for me. And also
I agree with that statement.
There's
completely
a
agree
whole
with that.
thing with therapists of the wounded healer.
Sure.
Like it kind of takes someone to go through some shit in order to be able to help other people go through some shit. So just wanted to kind of say that as like validating Kaladin's arc as therapist. And also as a mental health therapist myself, that was one of my favorite bits because I'm like, he's admitting it! He's doing the things, which was very cool for me.
Yeah, I endorse everything you just said. I agree with all that. Yeah.
Cool. And then super fast, just thing, one of my friends, when I finished the book, was like, so, Shallan being pregnant. And I was like, what? What? Did I miss this? So like,
you did.
Is that,
You missed it.
You sure missed it.
Okay. So first of all, that sucks. Second of all, for verifying.
Yeah. No, I'm here to tell you right now. I'm only.
But you can have sex and not be pregnant.
Okay, no. Okay, so first off, really, that's not what I was talking in middle school because I grew up in the South. Number 2, there are creation sprint there when that happens. Number 3, when at the end when she's in Shadesmar, she is cradling her belly, and the word cradle is not chosen by accident. And suffice to say, I said before I wasn't going to talk about being beta, and I can't shut the hell up about it. We had this big beta thing at JordanCon in secret in the hotel room. And Peter was there, and I was like, "Okay, guys, I need you guys to tell me, like, do we know that she's pregnant?" And every woman in the room looked at me and was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
I'm an audiobook person, so my brain just skipped over.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a passing line, so like you could easily miss it.
Right.
Entirely. It's not like it's not like she's standing there like, I'm pregnant. Look at my belly.
Right. And I think he also I think the creation sprint were not there in the beta because Karen. This is a process thing. Karen goes through and sort of in post puts sprint in. That's one of Karen's jobs is continuity as she goes through and she's like, oh, there should be a sprint here, so she puts a sprint in, right? And so she's like, oh, they're toiling, there should be toil sprint or whatever, right? Or they're making a baby, there should be some baby making sprint. So like Karen, I'm 95% sure Karen put the creation sprint in. But yeah, no, she is absolutely pregnant. Peter looked at me and was like, You're dumb. She's pregnant.
So I run a Atlanta local cosmonaut Discord group where we hang, like do events and stuff and hang out. And so when this book came out, this is our first like book club read together. And everyone, as soon as that chapter hits, like I think I was the first one, and I put baby, and it just like spoiler chats went baby, 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 baby. And then a couple of my cosplay friends under Adolin and Shalon, and they've got a baby, and they're like, yeah, now we officially have a cosplay. And then my other comment on that was I think it's a parting shot at Adolin. If Sanderson can do something that hurt him, he does it. And so having his kid raised outside his potential realm of influence.
Really
rough.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude, there was one beta reader that was like, how dare you do this to show Yeah. All right, here.
What are your thoughts on the introduction of Dark Blackthorn Cognitive Shadow at the end of the book? Is it stupid? Is it a cop-out? Is it setting us up for something good?
Oh, Billy's gonna blow an aneurysm.
I'm bound by NDA.
Damn it!
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think it is a cop-out. I think it's bad. I think of all of the writing in this book, having a Blackthorn Spren was the worst decision. It shouldn't happen. I understand why he could be. We've seen some future fighting and stuff like that. We don't know what sides we can take or anything like that. But this is all going to be leading to honor separating from retribution. You can see it in there. The honor was like, hey, wait, no, you can't have a Blackthorn Spren because you don't have that gym badge. So Honor recognized that. So every time he uses Blackthorn to do something, that's going to remind Little Honor that Odium's a liar.
I don't really like Dalinar, so I don't love or hate the Blackthorn stuff. But also, keep in mind that this Blackthorn, it does have Dalinar's memories, but it isn't Dalinar.
Yeah. Right.
It is in no way Dalinar.
So
right, in the sense of it cannot be confused with Dalinar. Yeah. We have Wob of that. That's not takeable from the text, but Brandon has said that. All right, we technically are out of time. Thank you so much to our panelists.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Saga podcast. If you like what you heard, please check out other Geek Saga entertainment endeavors, including the Sagas and Sass webcast and podcast and Ice and Fire Con.